We're
Okay,
live,
we're
Justin.
live. Hey.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Vanessa Hunter here, and it is a great, great day because we get to talk to Justin Biggs. Justin is the co-CEO of Mailbox Power, the founder, the system architect. He's got a million titles after his name.
That's
But
right.
the bottom line is the guy knows everything there is to know about Mailbox Power from A to Z. And so
Well, no pressure now, right? No pressure.
super excited to have you here, Justin. Hey, everybody. We want to know, as always, on our Lunch and Learns, we want to know what you're having for lunch today. So I see there's a Facebook user. Hi, Vanessa and Justin. Hi, Facebook user. If you go over and register with StreamYard at streamyard.com/Facebook, we'll be able to see your actual name rather than just Facebook user.
Technology, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hey, Doug Preston, pumpkin pie for lunch. That sounds like something I would enjoy.
Pie
What
for
else?
lunch. That sounds like my kind of lunch.
That sounds really, really good. So what happens, Justin? We go live and then we go show up in on YouTube before we show up in the Facebook groups. So the Facebook groups are just now catching up with us. There we go. Bob Wilcox, hamburger noodle casserole. Never heard of it. Sounds delish. Mushroom bourguignon over rice noodles. Nice. Laura. There's Laura just
I'm
taking
just
it
impressed
next
with you know how
level.
to spell bourguignon.
Right. Laura's taking it to the next level. All right, guys. Well, let's get started. This is a Lunch and Learn, and we are fortunate to have the co-CEO, Justin Biggs, here with us today. And I'm going to pick his brain a little bit. I have the opportunity to ask a few probing questions. And if you all have questions of your own, please feel free to add them to the chat and we'll try to get to as many as possible. But Justin, I want to start with kind of a softball question here.
Okay.
What's your 30-second elevator pitch on what Mailbox Power is? When you're standing on an elevator with me and I say, "Hey, Justin, what do you do?"
Yeah, well, so elevator pitches are kind of fun because I've done a few in my day. I've talked to different angel groups and different investment groups and things. And really the whole goal of an elevator pitch is to get someone to ask that follow-up question or like to really pique their interest, right? So that they take the conversation off the elevator, right? So if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, Justin, what is Mailbox Power?" I would simply say, well, Mailbox Power, we are a direct mail platform that has a built-in thoughtfulness engine. And the reason that I would say it like that is because then the next question that gets followed up with is, well, what on earth is a thoughtfulness engine, right? So right away, they know what direct mail is, right? Yeah. Everybody has a kind of a general idea of what direct mail is. We've also kind of incorporated the word platform. So they know that there's like something more to this. It's software, it's a whole platform. Right. And then you throw out thoughtfulness engine and people are like, well, what's a thoughtfulness engine? I don't even know where to go with that. I don't know what that is. And really, as a kind of the follow-up to that, they'll say, well, what is a thoughtfulness engine? And I'll say, well, it's designed to complement your existing marketing. It enables you to automatically trigger and send out personalized, highly personalized cards and gifts at different points during the customer journey. So to welcome a new customer or to show thank you or appreciation or gratitude or recognize them on their birthday or recognize employees for doing a good job. And the whole concept is that this is no more difficult than sending an email, right? So that's the conversation we have. And hopefully by that point, I've piqued their interest enough that they'll say, well, step off the elevator and let's have a bigger conversation.
Yes. Step into my office. Yeah, let's have a bigger conversation. So with that, Justin, you're not saying like abandon, you're not advising people to abandon their email marketing or any of the things they're already doing, right? I'm hearing that you're saying this is a complement to what people already have in place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, look, over the years, you go back like 40 years, right? And you're pretty limited on what you could do as far as marketing goes. Yeah. You had radio, you had television, you had billboards, and you had print advertising, whether it's newspaper, catalogs, whatever, right?
Yes.
Well, fast forward to today, and there's a million different ways that you can market to your customers. We have, Facebook, we have YouTube, we have social media, we have Instagram, we have all of these companies that have built different avenues. In the 90s and the early 2000s, you had banner advertising on websites, and who knows what we're going to have tomorrow. Probably I'll be able to buy ad space in somebody's Tesla on their screen, in the corner of their screen. So when they pass a McDonald's or something, McDonald's sends me a notice or something, who knows? Right. I mean, I even saw, I was looking for a new Amazon Kindle to read books, and I can buy a Kindle now that comes with ads that's a little bit cheaper, so that when I'm on the lock screen, it shows me ads. Wow. So, there's going to be all these different crazy ways to market in the future. And what's funny about all of this is that the mailbox has kind of been this forgotten thing that over the years, people have kind of said, well, that doesn't really work anymore. You got to be in digital. You got to be doing Facebook ads. You got to be pushing, it's all got to be digital. And they forgot. And so what happened is the mailbox has become empty. And so what we're saying is don't forget about the mailbox. And a lot of people that I talk to say, well, yeah, but it's so hard. I've got to go create artwork, and I've got to go get a designer, and I've got to come up with what to say. And then I got to go order 10,000 pieces. And the ROI just isn't there. Facebook makes it really easy. I click a few buttons, my ad's being shown to my target audience, and I'm done. And so that was the real kind of impetus for us, is to say, no, we are going to make it easy, and don't give up your other marketing. Just incorporate direct mail in what you're doing, because when you get something in the mail, you're going to pay attention to it, because just nobody's really doing it anymore, at least not like they used to.
And that's a great point, Justin. When we're doing things, when we're advertising and when we're doing things on social media, we're competing with a lot of other people, right? There's a lot of noise. There's a lot going on. And to grab someone's attention is pretty competitive. That's a pretty competitive space. But as you're saying, the mailbox, people look in there, and all I want to see when I open the mailbox is something that's not a bill. Right.
Right. I mean, we all do it, right? It's funny to me because I go back 10 years ago when junk email and spam and all this stuff was a big deal. People were freaking out about I get so much junk email. Most modern email browsers now kind of filter your email for you. So you don't really get a whole lot of spam anymore. It just goes into a folder.
Right.
But people were so angry, and they would post their comments about, and I'm like, no one says anything about all the junk mail that shows up to your box. That I actually have to take back to my house, filter it, put it in my garbage can, and take my trash out to my curb. That's way more cumbersome. How do I opt out of some of that kind of junk email?
Right.
And everybody does it now. I mean, you get your mail out of your mailbox and you filter it, and you know exactly what a bill looks like. Even to the point that they've tried to trick you.
Yes.
Credit card companies, they'll put the plastic card inside. So you'll be like, well, wait, did they send me a card?
Right.
And they're just trying to get you to open it. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's almost gotten to the point now that you can kind of detect that, and you still just kind of throw it away.
Right.
Because the way that they're doing direct mail is the same way they were doing it back in the 80s and the 90s. They haven't really evolved their direct mail, because all of them, like I said, all of the marketing specialists and all of the training and all of the people coming up and moving into marketing in a field are saying, why are you doing direct mail? Direct mail sucks. Let's do stuff that we know can work, right, which is digital.
Yeah.
So there's not been a whole lot of great innovation in the world of direct mail over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah. And is that really, and this is kind of a rewind question, but is that really what made you want to start Mailbox Power in the first place? I mean, what was the pressing issue that you saw that you thought, I think I have a solution for that?
Well, that's a little bit of a longer story. So I'll share the story real quick. But so when I was in college and I was kind of coming up in my career, I was going into business information systems. So I was learning how to program web pages and different things like that. Mm-hmm. And I actually got hired by a company to take the concept of digital scrapbooking and move it online. Mm-hmm. And so you had digital scrapbooking. For those of you who don't remember, in the early 2000s, it was all the rage. Like especially here in Utah, it was crazy. There were big, huge, massive companies creating little stamps and little colored papers and stickers, and it was all over the place. That was the thing. And there were these women that would have entire closets in their house dedicated to digital scrapbooking with all different kinds of scissors and glue and paper and glitter. And it was crazy. So this company had put together these kits, and they said, well, we want to really leverage the internet to do this. And the idea would be that you would upload your pictures and your creativity, and then it would be turned into a hardbound book. And so I thought, well, that's an awesome like dev project. I'll tackle that. So I jumped in, we helped him build this. We actually launched a company. It was really, really successful. We ended up selling that company. And the company still exists today as a brand. But what was amazing to that was I got to see firsthand some of the people getting like these actual physical books in their hand.
Yeah.
And I would see grown men, like big, tough, burly guys like myself in their 40s, get these little books with baby pictures of their children in them, or their grandkids in them or whatever. And they would be brought to tears. And I thought, that is just the coolest thing in the world, that I can do something on a technology basis on the internet that produces a real world item that they can hold and they can touch and they can feel and they can enjoy, that they're never going to throw away, that can emotionally move someone like that so much. And it was then I decided that, and that industry, by the way, it became known as web to print. And back when I was building the software, is about the same time that Shutterfly was building their website. A bunch of companies that you might know are building their kind of digital presences to do photo books. And I just thought, I'm always going to do something in web to print, because I like the fact that what I actually do doesn't just end up as a web page that someone may or may not visit. It actually produces a real world, tangible product that you can hold and feel. And so that's my long story about how I kind of got into this. And then over the years, as I was working for a couple of other companies, I noticed that if you actually made your clients feel like that, they would love on you like crazy. They would do shout outs about you. They'd send you texts. They would post stuff on social media about you. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a business model here where a business can actually incorporate this kind of a concept. And we looked around and we saw a couple of companies that were attempting to do some stuff there. And some of them had some really great success, but nobody in my mind really had taken the approach of helping the busy business owner with that. They all had it was more like mom who wants to print her pictures in a book, or and like at the time, like Shutterfly was just dominating that, and or somebody who's posting a bunch of stuff to Instagram wants all of that stuff in a book, or I'm going to send greeting cards and I'm going to send custom messages, invite kids to the birthday party, or I'm going to send out my holiday cards or whatever there. But nobody was really focusing on how this whole thing can help the busy professional who is still wanting to do direct mail, but yet stuck in the 80s and 90s with their approach to direct mail. So,
yeah, great point. And taking that relationship from transactional to personal, right? Because the personal experience is what we're after, that feel-good feeling, like you were describing, the father who opens the photo book and sees the pictures of his children. We want people to feel that way about everything, right? Everything
it's the wow factor, I think we've called it in times past, right? It's the wow factor.
Yes. And so with that in mind, and talking about, we spend a lot of time training businesses on how to look for customers and clients using our list builder, which is a phenomenal tool, that Mailbox Power has. Who do you think is the perfect client for Mailbox Power?
That's a great question. When we first started out, we kind of just generically said, we want to help businesses. And what happened is we ended up actually working with a handful of really big businesses, enterprises even. And we even went a few years ago out to Salesforce, to Dreamforce, their big conference, which is like just massive. And it's a crazy experience. And we really thought, wow, our solution can help these big businesses. Let's go land a Salesforce type company that wants to really take their direct mail to the next level. And what we found is that we weren't a really great fit for those huge, massive types of businesses. And the reasoning, I still struggle with what the reasoning is, but I think it has to do with the fact that the higher ups, the owners, the people who have skin in the game, they love this whole concept of making the transaction more personal, right? They want repeat business. They want to have those relationships with their customers. But then ultimately in a really big company, it gets handed off to an employee who just doesn't care as much. And it's just like one checklist item to do. And so what we found is that over the last couple of years, our ideal customer is actually who I'd call a busy professional. And that, I know that's kind of a funny way to say it, but one way to think about this is when they pull out their wallet and they look at their credit cards and they have a business credit card, whose name is on the credit card? Is it their name, or is it a credit card that was issued to them by some big, accounting department? Because if it's their name, most likely they'd be a good fit for Mailbox Power, simply because they're going to care more about their marketing dollars. They don't have a budget to spend. They actually need this to be successful. And they need these relationships to be long lasting, and they want their clients to hang around for a long time, and they need to be able to close that deal. They need to stand out from the crowd. Bigger companies tend to just not care as much about that, and they just tend to say, oh, we've got $10,000 that we've got to spend before tomorrow because my budget rolls over tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's just not quite the same. So the solopreneur, the busy professional, the independent agent, the independent business owner, that's really, really the sweet spot for Mailbox Power. And that's who, honestly, we're trying to build to serve the most.
It's interesting. I think that and I've said this to you before, you're kind of an anomaly in the business, right? Because you're a developer that understands and really is passionate about the customer experience. And those things, like you were saying, sometimes a business owner will catch the vision, but by the time it gets passed down to the project manager or somebody else to implement what they're trying to do, the passion is gone, right? There's nothing there anymore. And they've lost. There's a disconnect between what they're trying to do and somebody actually implementing it. Where I think Mailbox Power really stands out is your complete grasp of that entire process, right? Your complete grasp of the process from developing for the end user and really understanding what that experience is going to be for the end user. And I think that is, I've worked with a ton of different programmers and developers, and I've never seen that in anybody. Somebody who has such a complete grasp of what that experience needs to look like in order to be successful.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'd love to say that it's all me, but honestly, it was almost born out of a necessity, because in my career, I've worked with a lot of developers and programmers as well. I've been part of teams and I've managed teams. And what I've found consistently over the years is that small teams can execute way faster and do a much better job than large teams. And so we like to run a mean and lean team. And of course, back in 2003 is when I met my business partner, Jerry. And I don't know if I've ever told this story, so I'm going to tell it real quick because it's an interesting story and I'd love to have it like archived for purposes. So I'm working for this photo book company and I need to hire a developer, and I start interviewing some candidates, and one guy walks in, and I mean, he didn't literally put his feet on the desk, but basically put his feet on the desk, threw his resume over and was like, well, this is what you're gonna have to pay me to come on board with you, and and I was just like, okay, great, thanks, appreciate it. And he was really, really well qualified. Had a ton of credentials, had a ton of experience, would have been an awesome developer. But his attitude was just, there was no humility, there was no hunger. It was just all about the money for him. Yeah. And then this little scrawny kid walks in and he sits down, and I say, well, do you have any experience doing this? And he goes, no, I've never programmed in that language before. And I said, okay. I go, how many years have you been doing this? He says, well, I'm actually relatively new, and I've been doing this and this and that. And I just said, that's great. And basically said, look, at the end of the day, this is the language we program in, and you have no experience in it. So unfortunately, you're just not a great fit for that. And then I went home that night and late at night, or actually it was first thing in the morning the next day, I get an email from this kid and he says, "Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me yesterday. I went home last night and I wrote this little program in your language so you can check it out. And the next time you have a position available, I'd love to be considered for it." And I thought, who does that? Right.
Yeah.
Like, and at the time, okay, I'm 20, I'm like 23 years old. Right. So I'm not exactly like a seasoned veteran by any means, but I'm like, who does that? Who goes home at night and programs a little program and basically doesn't say you should hire me or you're going to make a mistake or whatever. They're just super humble and like, hey, next time you have an opening, let me know. So I ended up hiring him, and by far it's the best decision I've ever made, apart from marrying my wife and a couple of years prior to that, simply because and he's been my partner now through almost every company that I've been involved with since clear back in that time. Mainly because, one, we work really well together, and two, we both share the same hunger, the same passion, the same desire. And really, I think it comes down to this. What we've been better at executing and doing, probably more than most other programmers and developers that I know, is being able to put ourselves in the customer's shoes. We want to use the product just as much as they want to use the product. We want to be consumers of it, and we want to have a great experience of it with it just as much as we want our customers to. So we're the type of guys that if we find a bug or we hear about something that's not working right, we can't go home. We can't take a break. We can't go to lunch. Like, we have to get that fixed.
Yes.
And it drives us up the wall. And that's really like my advice to anyone out there, whoever is looking for a developer or looking to hire a programmer, is try to find those type of attributes. And because it works. I mean, we've been successful with it.
Obviously it works. And I think, we have spoken before about the book, Good to Great.
One of my favorite
Jim
books.
Collins. One of your favorites?
One of my favorites, Jim Collins, just an amazing book. If you haven't read the book, highly, highly recommend.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the things that Jim Collins talks about in the book, From Good to Great, or Good to Great, I add the from myself, Good to Great, is the fact that you can be passionate about something, and that's fantastic. And that's like one circle on this little hedgehog concept that he explains in the book. You can be passionate about something. You can be really competent and good at something. And then there's another idea that can make you some money. Where those three things converge is really the magic. And I think through what you're telling us today, Justin, with the stories of how you got involved in your passion for really delivering something that is meaningful to people, and then partnering with someone like Jerry, who shares that passion and is really, really good at what he does, and then finding a way to market that in a way that's very, very effective and easy for people. It's a super easy concept, right? They don't have to go through a ton of training to figure out how to use Mailbox Power, and they don't have to, get into a multi-year contract or anything like that. You have simplified this business model to the extent that anybody can use it and find success very, very quickly with it.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that really is the thing. Like they say that, find something that you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? Well, that's true. If you find something that you love, you're actually pretty good at it and you can make money at it. Then you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly.
And that's really what, as Jim Collins was going through and interviewing all these different companies and analyzing like who's successful, who makes it, who doesn't, right? They all had those three common attributes in there. So as we're out looking for who can we serve, that's really, and what's great about Mailbox Power is that when you say we serve the busy professional, that's a huge audience. I mean, tell me someone who literally doesn't fit into that audience, right? So what you can do then is start breaking that down. Well, do I relate more? Do I have more experience? Am I passionate about real estate? Am I passionate about insurance? Am I passionate about a home service-based business? Am I passionate about direct sales? What is it that I'm passionate about or have experience with or have contacts with, or, who do I enjoy serving as a subclass of the busy professional. And then you can really kind of hone in and focus on solutions for them, whether it's coming up with, and basically just ask yourself the question, how can I serve them? What are their pain points? You know, what do they go to sleep at night worried about? What is it that they really want? And, you know, from a high level, we always say, you know, and we actually just registered a trademark that is make your phone ring, right? Because that's a pretty common denominator amongst most busy professionals. They want their phone to ring. They want, but they all struggle with different parts of that, whether it's picking up the phone to make a cold call, whether it's sales, whether it's closing the deal, whatever it is. So there's so many great ways that we can find what our hedgehog is to serve that market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think is the best kept secret of Mailbox Power? What do you wish people knew that they didn't?
Well, to be honest, let me grab my card here. That I think is the best kept secret, right? So you might be asking, well, what is that? Well, that is the I need your mailbox link. So the biggest hurdle, I think, for most people when it comes to direct mail is I don't have your address, right? I don't know where to send this. I don't know where to make sure it gets delivered correctly. So at Mailbox Power, we built this tool. Really, the best way to explain it is to experience it. But the idea is that you can just share a link with someone, right? So I need your mailbox.com / you know, certain codes and different things that put them in different groups in your contact groups. But you just share that and then they fill it out. So you can put a custom message on that link that says, hey, I want to invite you to be part of my birthday club because I love to send cards and gifts for your birthday, right? Or you can send another link that says, hey, thanks for signing up for the webinar. I'd love to send you something in the mail. You know, give me your best address, right? And they put in their information and then that automatically goes into your Mailbox Power account and it can be associated with an automation so that something gets automatically triggered. So for example, I have one of these on my Facebook page. I use it all the time. I have it on my business card when I meet people. So people come and say, well, can I have your information? And I say, yeah, but hang on. I want you to experience this. So pull out your phone. So then I make them pull out their phone and scan the QR code and fill this out because it literally takes 30 seconds. And then I get a text message back that says, so-and-so just filled this out. And I've got all of their contact information now. And I've even got their birthday, you know, and I'll tell them specifically, make sure you give me your birthday, just the month and the day. And most of them do because I tell them, hey, I just want to send you a card on your birthday. And that's actually been surprisingly powerful. Like of all the cool things that we've built, and we have kind of a joke around here that when we build something cool, we like to pull in other partners and employees and say, hey, you want to see something cool? Right. We built this not thinking that this is what it would become, just thinking, well, it's just kind of a clever way, but it's actually probably been one of our number one used features and is the thing I use on a daily basis when I meet people, just because it makes it so much fun to see their reaction and get a text from them or a follow-up message that says, I can't believe you sent something to me. And it's like, yeah, I did. I spent a lot of work. I went and hand wrote a card and I put it in a box. I went down to the post office and I stood in line. And the truth is, you don't have to do any of that. But that's the perception, right? That's the perception of value. So.
It is the perception. And I think the fact that you have that as a QR code on your business card is genius. I know that some people have it on their phone and people can scan that. But it's it's a cool way of collecting those addresses. It's not cumbersome at all. You're not typing them in there. You're not going to make a mistake, right? That is all on the person filling it out. And the fact that you can link that contact group to an automation that automatically triggers a nice to meet you card or thank you for allowing me to send this quote or now you're added to my birthday club or whatever you want it to say, whatever you want that connection to be, you can set that up so simply one time. Everyone goes into the same thing. That's the coolest part about it. Justin's not running home or running back to the office and creating all these individual cards. They're just being triggered as soon as somebody fills out that I need your mailbox link. And I do think that is one of the coolest things.
Yeah. Well, and you know, at the end of the day, the whole goal with what we're trying to do is to help you stand out from the crowd. And like, I was just at a convention or a conference a couple of weeks ago, and that's what I was doing, going around trying to collect as many people to fill this out as possible.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been, and if you're anything like me, like I struggle with names and faces. Like I'll recognize someone, I can't even for the life of me remember what their name was, right? Well, I'm sure that I'm not the only one that struggles with that. I'm sure that lots of people that I've met at that convention were, they were shaking my hand and saying, "Hey, it's nice to meet you." And then they forget who I was 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
But in a few days, they get a gift from me, a package, even if it's just a card or a postcard. Yeah. I mean, you are definitely going to stand out to them. And I mean, imagine if you're an employee and you went into a job interview like Jerry did with me, and that's your response is you send them a card in the mail, Yes. Or imagine, if you're a salesperson going into a meeting and a few days later you're trying to close a deal with them and they get a package in the mail, and it doesn't have to be salesy or anything. It's just simply like, "Hey, it was really nice to meet you."
That's it.
Because like I said, the perception of value, it just goes through the roof. It's like, how on earth did you do that? Did you really go down to the post office? Did you really buy stamps? Because this came with a real stamp on it.
How did you have time for that, Justin? Wow. I thought you were a busy business owner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that is the perception. And I think that's the point, the perceived value of that. The fact that it's perceived value on a lot of different levels, though. You've got the value of actually receiving something, but now you feel valued as a new contact, as the person that you just met. So, we could go on and on and on. I know we're at the bottom of the hour here, so maybe we'll have to do a part 2 because I have loads more questions for you. But I do want to say this. Mailbox Power, we've talked about the fact that you can gain new customers and clients with Mailbox Power. It's great for retention. It's great for keeping your customers nice and close and top of mind, right? It's great for all those things, kind of the multifaceted A to Z of customer appreciation. What do you think the future holds for Mailbox Power? And I know this is a big, big question, but what do you think the future holds in terms of where are we going? Where's this bus going next?
That's such a great question, because it's easy to, I think, get distracted. We talked a little bit about your hedgehog. Like, what can you be the best at the world, best in the world at?
Yeah.
And what are you passionate about? And like I said, I'm really passionate about physical, tangible stuff. And I think that that's what we can be the best in the world at, is really owning the mailbox. So I've already had people and wish list items and things of people coming in and saying, "Well, why can't I send emails or text messages or do ringless voicemail, or like, why don't you build a full blown CRM and all that stuff?" And I've kind of pushed all of that aside and said, you know what? No, what I really want to do is focus on the mailbox. So taking and reimagining and reinventing what direct mail really can be. I think almost like I hesitated to even say direct mail in the elevator pitch at the very beginning, because so many people, I think, have a negative connotation with direct mail. Oh, direct mail's dead. Direct mail doesn't work. That's a dirty word, direct mail. But I want to be the company, and I think we can be the company that reinvents direct mail and takes it really into the future. We want to be the Tesla of direct mail, that takes a look and re-envisions and reimagines and says, this is what, look at what you can send to the mailbox now and how easy we've made it to do it. Whereas before it was so crazy difficult, or it was so antiquated, or it didn't produce results, or it wasn't personalized, or whatever it may be. I think that's where I'd love to see us go over the next handful of years. So
that is so awesome. Well, thanks, Justin. This has been, like I said, I could ask 100 more questions.
Oh, thanks. We appreciate you doing this. Yeah, it's been great.
I really, really, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you are so passionate and so talented at it, and that it's a great business model. So the perfect hedgehog, right? It's really, really, it's really an honor to work alongside you. So with that, we're going to close out this Lunch and Learn. If you missed the beginning or joined us late, or if you missed any of our Lunch and Learns, you can go over to youtube.com/the Mailbox Power, and you can watch this and many other lunch and learns that we have also got on that channel. So with that, thank you again, Justin.
Thanks, Vanessa. All right, we'll see you guys.